Hello,
Yeah.
how are you?
Hey, doing well, sir. How are you? It looks like you got your hair cut.
No. A week ago.
Oh,
Well, yeah, not recently. Yeah. Hope all is well. Hello, Aaron,
Hey, Allison. Good to see you.
Frank, Jeff,
Frank.
Lara.
boy, everybody's joining on.
Yeah.
It's good. Have a robust start. Maybe.
Well, I know Lara's in the car driving. She was at a meeting, so she will be with us via just listening in.
Okay.
So where are we at? We have 9 people on. I'm just trying to think, is Charles and James still at?
Oh, is it CFX? Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Yeah, which one is it? CFX or TCN?
TCN.
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 Is
Hey,
that?
Jeff, how you doing? Hey, Frank. Good to
There it
see you,
is.
brother.
Good to see you too. It's good to be seen.
Yeah, yeah,
Somebody once said it's better to be seen than viewed.
that is true.
Although, on the other side for us would be far better.
Hey, I'm vertical today, so I'm good.
Yeah, yeah. We got nothing to complain about.
Nope. Can you delete that one picture? I think it's a Brad Van Horn. Looks a little funky in the background.
Wow. And bang, gone.
Yikes.
Don't make me come down that hallway and get on your computer.
How we doing, Nate?
Doing good.
Oh, it looks like you're in the warehouse.
I am back in the dungeon.
Welcome, Alexander.
Thank you. I might turn my camera off for a little bit to finish lunch quick, but I'll be listening.
All right. Yeah, it looks like we're at 11. Let's see here. Check the questions. So how's everybody's week been going?
Struggling.
Struggling? No, that's not good. What's up, bro?
I'm still struggling with COVID.
Ah,
I cannot shake it. I've been out most every day. I came in yesterday. I came in today. I'm probably going to go home right after this.
right. Yeah, I'm sorry you're dealing with that, man.
Not half as sorry as I am. Not nearly half as sorry as my wife.
Are you quarantined?
Yeah. I come in, lock my office door, and I sit down, and that's pretty much it. I stay away from people. Not even sure why I'm here.
Right.
But nobody else ended up with COVID. So
I'm
I
really
was concerned that I left a legacy with you all. So
I know
well, I'm
once
the
you
one that
mentioned that, I was like, oh, I wonder if other people at the conference are coming down with it or whatever, but I haven't heard of anyone else besides you. Sorry.
yeah.
no, I'm glad of that.
The only thing I had to do was sleep on the floor at the airport overnight.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't
Was
get
this
home till
weather
the next
related
day.
again, Tori?
Yeah, they kept saying weather related, weather related. We were on the plane, got kicked off, and then then the flight people got timed out, so that canceled the flight for the rest of the night. And so the next morning, we're all waking up, and yeah, we weren't the most politically correct group.
No doubt. Been done that.
Yep.
Where
So
where were you? Was that in
yeah, Chicago.
Chicago? Nice.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
find a flight for you? You should have said something. I would have come and brought you dinner.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was. I should have thought. I didn't even think about you. I should have, but they gave us food vouchers at 9:00. I know what time the airport closes.
Yeah, 10 o'clock. You're lucky.
So there wasn't a whole lot open at that time. So I think most of us saved it for the morning to have breakfast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an interesting experience. They brought cots out that were about 5 inches off the ground. So we put some of the elderly people that were in wheelchairs, we gave them the cots, and it was, yeah, it wasn't a great night, but we all got through and made some new friends. Probably never see them again.
Probably not.
So, well, guys, let's go ahead and get started. I want to respect everybody's time. I'm going to go ahead and open us up in prayer, and then we'll get going with the questions. Jesus, thank you for the day, and thank you for this time for all of us to get together, Lord. Lord, just direct us of what you want us to do in your house. Put those people in front of us that you want us to pray for. And Lord, just allow us to do things the first time, do them safely, and to be able to move on to the next project, Lord, and just allow us to keep looking at you. We thank you and we love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Just want you guys to know I'm sporting that new hat. Come on. I don't see anybody else wearing
Ain't that purty?
So the first question on the list here is from Jimmy Trickett. Are you on? Oh, nope. Let's see here. Greg Niver, are you here?
I don't think either of them are either.
Okay. So this one's being recorded, so he'll get it. What he's asking is how much responsibility do we give ministries to take on when they're using the building for a special event, when it's a last minute, it's not a regular scheduled event. We're just opening it up for them. What do you guys do for things like that when people are going to use the building or a room or something like that? What do you ask them to do?
So for me, I have limited staff, and in the evenings and on the weekends, I just have one person. So if it turns out to be a larger event, a good example, when we were at conference, I got an email from our family pastor who wanted to do men's breakfast, which is an awesome event. They do it all the time. We have a special room. We set up 20 some odd tables for them, have it all ready. They wanted to move it outside that morning. I'm like, okay, all the tables and chairs are down in the basement on the other side of the building, and you want to move it out in the morning. I only have one person on staff. They start at 7, the event starts at 8. That's an impossibility. So what I tell them is, you get enough volunteers to set it all up and tear it all down and put it all away, then that's a great idea. But otherwise, can't help you because of the limits. So that's what we've done in the past. We had a couple of huge events that happened back to back between Saturday morning and Sunday morning, and they insist on having this card writing party for the martyred church on a Saturday night, and there's no time to turn the event over for Sunday morning, so they have to do it. And that's not typical in our DNA, right? We do all the setup and tear down and clean. So they have to take care of the whole thing. If they don't, the next group complains, then we stop the event. So that's pretty much the way we approach it.
I know when I was at Faith, what I would do is if it was a small event like a classroom or something, they had to use it as is. We didn't move it around. We didn't go in and shift it, especially if it was last minute, no notice type of thing. Our janitorial department wouldn't come in until later that evening time after the building was closed. So cleaning really wasn't an issue because they have to go through all the rooms anyways. But if it's a bigger event and they want tables and stuff like that, we would do the best to try to get it scheduled in. But like I said, if it was last minute, they would have to toss it up themselves and put it away. 9 times out of 10, they don't. And then the morning guy is putting it away and stuff like that. We just chalk it up to customer service, trying to be helpful. But that's sort of how we ran it. Trash and cleaning and stuff like that really was never an issue because our janitorial never came in until after the building was closed. So that's sort of what we've done in the past. Anybody else? All right, next question is from our elevator company. Hanson, are you on? I don't see him listed. Does anybody have any? If anybody has any elevator concerns, Hanson and his crew are willing to shoot them an email. They are on our website, and they're always happy to give people a hand. Just asking some basic questions, especially, he helped us out with contracts, gave us some good advice on it when we were canceling contracts, how to do it. And he didn't even service the Colorado area. So he's a wealth of knowledge. So if you guys need anything, just reach out to him. And so Brad H at Rockford Church, are you on? Boy, everybody with questions isn't on today. What's up with that? Man.
Hopefully they'll catch the recording.
Yeah, that works. So what they're asking, let's see here. What they're asking is, are there typical recommendations for temperature settings for the building, occupied and unoccupied, winter, spring, summer, and fall? What do you guys do with your temperature settings? And let's throw in there too, what control do you give people on your thermostats?
None.
I give no one any control.
I see Kara smiling.
For us, I set the building at 72, 73, depending on the zone in the building. Some areas run a little hotter than others. Some areas run a little cooler. We're in the Midwest here, so temperature can fluctuate 40 degrees in one day, which really wreaks havoc on the system, and people like to complain about it. Our swing months, spring and fall are the most difficult to control the building. Again, I try and maintain that temperature, but it's pretty hard, and the humidity level seems to stay stable at 72 throughout the building. So, like I said, some areas 72 feels cold. In some areas, it's not warm enough, or hot enough, or cool enough. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, but that's what I've been trying to maintain. But I let the units, I don't run them all day either or all night. So I'm doing them based on events. So they're shutting down, and my unoccupied temperatures will range from 76 to 78 on a cooling side and 68 to 66 on a heating side in the summertime. And then I usually reverse those temperatures come wintertime, right? So I'm still trying to maintain 72 degrees, but I don't want it to get colder than 68 in the wintertime. The reason why I keep a shorter bandwidth is I find that our energy efficiency is much better. I'm not having to heat everything in the building again. So
Right.
when you shut units down and your furniture starts cooling down and the walls start cooling down, it takes a lot longer to heat that stuff up, and you end up spending more money, believe it or not. So it's easier to try and maintain that temperature throughout the day and night, 2 to 3, 4 degree bandwidth. That's it. Than it is to shut down and let it try and catch up with 8 degrees each way.
How much control do you give people off your thermostats?
Some rooms they have more than others, but I typically try and shut that down because what ends up happening is they don't tell anybody that they've changed something. And you've got one group that goes in, wants the room hot, and another one wants the room cold, and then I'm getting a lot of complaints. So I'd rather them call me and say, hey, the room's too cold or too hot, and then I can handle it, and then I can see what's going on, because then it tells me if the unit's working or not. Otherwise, they can send it into a lock mode and it won't work at all. And I don't know for days then. So I try not to give
Gotcha.
them any control. We are getting ready to switch to Wi-Fi thermostats. We're looking at the Pelicans, and we've got 4 units that are on that now. We're probably gonna switch another 20 some odd units come September, and get away from the Jace and BACnet and all that nonsense.
Anybody else? What else do you guys do?
Yeah, I'll answer there, Tori.
Okay.
So here at Grace, we have an unoccupied space temp of 75 to 76 degrees. We use Pelican and eSpace to communicate with each other. When an event is approved through eSpace, it talks to Pelican, and Pelican lowers the occupied temp in that space to 72 degrees. The only change to that is on the weekend services, because there's always a lot more people on our campuses. So we lower that to 69 degrees. Now we have our thermostats. They're always locked when there isn't an approved event for any space. When that event is approved, the thermostat will unlock only during the time of the approved event. And you can control that thermostat, but we lock it out at 69 degrees. So when it is in a space and it's 72 degrees, if they think it's too warm in the space and they want to bump it down, they can only bump it down as far as 69 degrees, and that's it. That's where it's capped. We don't want them to go any lower than that, because we don't want them to ruin our ACs.
Right.
So we kind of do the same thing that the gentleman before us said, where we have an unoccupied temp, and then we have it set for an occupied temp of 72 degrees, and that's set on all our thermostats. And we do all that through Pelican. We use Pelican at all of our campuses.
Sounds like we're all about doing the sort of the same thing. I know at Faith they had 2 degrees up, 2 degrees down, but pretty much we did the same thing. Wintertime we maintained, because otherwise trying to heat the entire building at -9 was time consuming, and you also had to watch out for some of the areas in your building when you're sprinkled, that they wouldn't freeze and break some pipes. So you definitely had to maintain the heat on. So those were really only the questions that came up. Any of you guys have any other questions that we could throw out?
I had one that came up last week. Actually started while we were at conference, but we have multiple campuses, and so our central staff has decided that we have to justify at each campus the need for additional hire.
Okay.
Regardless of what it is. What ended up in the facilities department is I had somebody who had to resign, and I was already short one part-time person, and this person was a full-time person. And now Central is telling me I've got to justify replacement of that person. So I was looking on the website for Dean's paper on the FTEs and how to justify that. And on the website, it's not there, but anyways, I did find out that if I follow industry standard, I should have 16 full-time employees on my property. I
Not gonna happen.
have 2 full-time employees and 3 part-time employees, and I lost 1 full-time. So has anybody come up with that where they have to justify their staff need for their facility, or Yeah, basically that's where I'm at. I mean, it's just I'm not getting coverage. Or do you just close the building when you don't have coverage? Or do you leave the building open and let people go in and do whatever they need to do? So I guess that's my question.
Well, I know that we went through a little change there, especially after COVID and stuff like that. I mean, it was just Jeff and I that were on the campus. And then we slowly started rebuilding. What I ended up having to do is I had to document down every setup, every change, and make a spreadsheet of everything that I was doing. And then they went ahead and hired one person. Then even with that person, I was keeping track of the hours, the projects, and stuff like that. And it was an ongoing process. And but I had to do it. That's what they asked. They wanted to know where all of our time was at, how long it took to do things, and some things didn't get done. I hate to say it. It's not in my nature not to get it done, but we couldn't accommodate everything. So we would have to write it down. Hey, we couldn't come back in and cover everything. So we didn't just close the building. We didn't just leave it open for access. We spread out our hours. And so finally we got up to the third person. It's still not enough, but we were getting by. And so that's where they held it, that's where they held faith at. And so that was tough. I know they're still short, but that's how they were looking at it. We had to document how long it took us to do a setup. And if it was two of us doing it, of course, it's not just an hour, it's actually 2 hours because two guys were doing the setup. So I had to document everything. And finally, I was able to slowly start gaining staff, as they figured the need was there.
That's helpful.
It's time consuming. Everything you're doing, you're writing down, and it takes up more of your time to document everything.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate with that my boss is one of my predecessors, and he has sort of a built-in understanding of what it takes. And so I haven't had to justify anytime I've said to him, hey, I really need to add another person, just a part-time or even a full-time. He said, okay, no problem. We added a new building. We added one more full-time person. I'm still a little short. I try not to push it. I don't want to tax our coffers, so to speak. But yeah, I've been very fortunate along those lines.
Well, that's the way it started out for me. When I got hired, we were one campus. So my BA, he managed the building as well as doing administrative stuff. So when he hired me, he just cut me loose, whatever you need. But now we're up to 6 campuses, and they're like, yeah, I don't know if we need any more staff for that. And ministry in our campus has grown exponentially over the last 18 years. Even though we've added 6 campuses, ministry has not changed here. It's actually grown. Not the same at the other campuses. So I have less help now than I did when we were just one campus. It's just, I don't get it. And I've got more ministry to cover. But yeah, that's documenting all that time is going to be helpful in that regard.
So I don't typically have to, hi everybody, by the way.
Hi.
I don't typically have to justify if I'm replacing an existing position. So I have to justify if I need to add a position. So I've never been in the position of having to justify one when somebody leaves. If I had to, I probably would start putting together not only a list of how long it takes to do things, although that is, I think that's tough because it's different. It takes a different amount of time for a different group of people than it does in others. And it's really, it's so variable. I think I would probably go the route, if I were in your position, I'd probably go the route of the things that wouldn't be able to be done if you didn't fill it. Like without this, here's what we cannot do. And even just explaining that right now, we just, without overtime or without, whatever additional volunteer support, whatever those things are, we can't do this. So with the existing staffing, this is all I can do. To have that person, now I can maintain. So what are you going to lose by not having that person? And then they can determine whether that's something that they would be willing to give up. It's so, if it's setups and teardowns, let's make it that easy. If your primary focus is cleaning, but you're doing setups and tear downs, you're doing room turnovers. But the reality is that without the staff, you're going to not be able to do the setups. And because cleaning is your focus, then it's okay, we're not going to be able to do setups. So now the ministries have to come in and you're going to have to be able to do your own setups. You're going to have volunteers to do that, or your ministry staff's going to have to do that in advance of the event, because we just don't have the capacity to do that. I think when I talk to people internally about stuff, that's the easiest way to explain it for them to understand, is more the hours they don't get, because they go, it takes me, if I were doing it, it would take that long. And if so it's just, it's a pain.
We did renovation on our sanctuary, and they're like, okay, so we want to tear all the pews out, but we want you to set up chairs every Sunday. I'm like, okay, that's 30 hours.
Right.
No, it's not 30 hours. That's impossible. Okay, you tell me how long it's going to take. And then they did a Bible study that Saturday morning, and they had 30 people come in, and they set up the sanctuary, 900 chairs in 15 minutes. We got it done in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
So how many
30
people? Oh, you had 30 people.
So keep bringing in
add that time up. You got 15 minutes for 30 people.
Let me hire 30 people.
Right. And keep bringing, hey, and if those 30 people are willing to continue to do it, but I think they'll realize that even over time, goodness, we've talked about having like our men's group come in and set up and tear down their space because it's the night before a youth group. So, hey, it's a bunch of guys. Well, the result of that was, the guys did do it, but fewer and fewer did it. Over time. And then the ministry realized that when they did that, they lessened the amount of time that they had to be able to do community afterwards, because everybody just picked up all of their stuff and started putting all of the tables and chairs away. Well, now they're not standing around, they're not talking, they're not having community. The ministry after ministry isn't happening. So that's the intangible piece that's hard to, without going, this is what we can't do. That they're going to have to figure out. So,
yeah, that's all helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? Anybody got anything to throw out there? I mean, I'm going to break a new record here if we're only on a call for 30 minutes. Usually I set it up for 3 hours because someone gives me a bad time.
Well, I'll ask the people who, not the 3 hours. That's a different call, not this one.
Yeah, that's not
totally different scenario. For those of you who went to conference, I'd love to hear what your biggest takeaway was.
COVID-19.
COVID.
Okay, other than you, Jeff.
I was very impressed to see how many new faces are in the NACFM. I think that is great, and you guys are doing a great job. Yeah.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
So for me, I went to the Garland roofing session breakout, and we are actually currently working with the Tampa area rep from Garland to help us resolve a roofing issue that we have at one of our campuses that we are in the process of building a new sanctuary for. So I just take value in those sessions, and in making that contact with that person from their company that was out of Michigan, working with him, continuing to work with him, and then working with the Tampa rep to find a solution to an issue that we're having. So I think they're very valuable, and I think the other vendors that you have there were probably also very helpful with questions and getting our members in touch with the people they need to get in touch with when they get back to their home state. Because that guy in Michigan has been an integral part with this process along with the Tampa guy, and I think that's a very valuable thing.
I think for me, I had only been in the facility manager position for 2 weeks before conference. So it was a good jump into the position. But I think the biggest thing was the community that I felt was around me. I have a lot of questions coming into this job, and it's very different. But there's so many people that I ran into and talked with, and just knowing I have the resources to ask more experienced people, that's the biggest takeaway for me, probably.
Yes,
Alex,
forum.
Alex, have you used the website yet or anything like that? You have? Okay.
I have, yes, lots of good stuff on there too.
Okay. Sorry, Frank, I didn't mean to write over you.
No worries. I just said stay in the forum. That's a great place to ask questions and get answers. Yeah. And look at some of the old stuff, because a lot of those questions are already been asked 2 and 3 times. And some of us asked the same over and over again, but we get old, we forget.
Amen.
Well, some of it changes. I mean, some.
Oh yeah.
Not all of it. Some of it.
It changes. Well, we're doing the same job. We're trying to reinvent it, right? So things do change.
Yeah.
There's new laws we got to deal with. There's new, it's always changing. It's always evolving. The roofing issues, right? So elevator issues, fire extinguisher issues, they're all there. Even though they're the same issues, you get new laws that you don't know about. Some inspector comes and he's trying to throw his weight around at you, and put the question out there. Somebody's got a good answer for you, or they can tell you where to find it. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, to that point, Frank, that the things are changing. Actually, today something came out of my meeting today, that I didn't even think about. I was helping one of our security vendor, our camera and access control vendor, with another company who's interested in their product. So they were coming to one of our campuses to see it and all of that. And now they're a big corporate entity with lots of locations. So they had some interesting things that really have no impact on us. But one of the questions that they asked, which I thought was really interesting, was so this particular system, it can target, a particular, when you're looking through the past history, it can target, you can look up and find a person, and then can search back and find that person. It'll automatically find that person within this whatever range that you have, so that you can kind of see their path of entry, or what they did within the time that they were on your location. And the question that they asked was if you could take that picture, that information then, and if it was somebody, like for an employee, if you terminated them, if you could save that and then have it trigger if they were ever to come onto come to a location, attempt to go to a location that would, that they're concerned about, basically, somebody going postal, so coming back with intent to do harm. And the funny thing about the system was, they said, well, our on-premise system can do that. So your server-based system that's sitting at a campus or at a location can do that, but they can't roll that out into the web version right now because it's going on the cloud. So there's so much legality about it being out on the cloud versus being on an on-premise solution. So I think that's just one of those things that is speaks to the fact that, yeah, the core of it is the same, but as technology changes and as different environments change and things like that, there are bits and tweaks that happen that make you start to need to think differently. So how do we need to think differently? Do we have to take different things into account as we move forward, as different products come out, maintaining them, so it's really, it was kind of, I hadn't even thought about that. Haven't even thought about the impact of that on the web. So. Come on, Steve, you were at conference, right?
Yep, it was great. No, I was going to say that I was very impressed with the vendors. I've actually been in touch with a couple of them, and I think there's some great solutions that I had no idea. And I was always hesitant before I came to my first conference. I'm like, well, what do I need these national vendors for? Like, how is that going to help me in Richmond? And it's been very beneficial. So I appreciate that. And then, the wealth of knowledge from the breakouts and all of that, and just being around like-minded individuals, I think it's been really good. catch a little bit of what everybody else has putting out there during our time.
Thanks for that.
With some of you that were not there this year, is there something that we could do to help get you there next year?
Yeah, convince my church to spend the money.
Good point.
And
Nate, do you happen to know what it is just outside of the overall? Is there a specific part of the money? Is there a dollar amount that you think that they'd be okay with, an amount of time, just is there any drill down into that, or just in general?
Well, I'm new. I've been at this here in this position about a year. So where I'm at right now is just getting the money. Like I want to take the second part of the certification course this fall, and I don't think that's going to happen because it's just too far away. So I guess it's just the budget's too tight. So I don't. I was asking for about $800, I think, and I'm getting the slow walk on it at this point. So I don't know. We'll see.
Nate, how long have you been in on it? And as facility manager?
A year.
Just a year. It took me 4 years to get my certification.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of old guy, as you can tell, so I don't want to wait too long.
I know, but the churches move slow, and that's just the way it is, right? So you do one in one spring and do the fall the next year, or vice versa, right? So do one piece at a time.
Right.
By the time I got my paper, it was 4 years had gone by, but that's an easier way to swallow it. The church doesn't want to spend money on facilities, right? We're, as much as they say we're ministry, we're that necessary evil that they have to have, and they'd rather spend the money on other ministry. So the one thing I learned when I first did it was my takebacks. I would let my boss know, hey, I found this out through NACFM, and I think my involvement would better my position here and better the church. And it has. And it took time for them to realize the value in it. But they kept me off right there. They're like, we're only going to let you go every couple of years. Or so it's been difficult over the years, but it's worth spending the time and going back to them and telling them what you've gained from even these roundtables, or from the forum, or what you learned from CP since you already did it. This is how I'm going to implement this new thing I learned. And they'll see some value in that if they want to build the position, yeah, that's an uphill battle.
Yep. Just got to keep pressing. I agree.
Yeah.
And if there's anything from the board that we can do, if there's anything, if they have questions about what kind of value, what they would get out of it, what, experience for various ones of us, or even some of us whose pastors are willing to speak to the value on our behalf, that they've realized by sending their FMs to go, we'd be happy to help in any way that we can with that. So.
That sounds good. I took this position a little bit over a year ago as part-time. So now I'm full-time. So there is progress. It's ugly. It'll take time and keep pushing them. So.
How many women were there versus men?
That's a great question. Oh goodness. I can't think of, I don't have a definitive number. Erin, do you happen to know? I think there were.
I'll have to look at that. Actually, I feel like every year there are more women that are coming. So I say this is only the second time I've been there, I guess. But I think even this last year compared to last year, do you think there's the same, or?
I think there were 5 of us. I think there might have been 5 of us. But I can confirm that for you, Kara, and let you know. So, yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, Tori's looking it up. We're small but mighty and mouthy.
So Candace makes 6.
Okay, so there were 6. I was going to say, I thought might have been.
And that doesn't include Aaron.
Out of,
I'm
okay.
trying to
out of,
remember
like,
in Tennessee.
seven-
Do you remember? Was there?
I think it was about the same. I
Was
think
about
we've
the
had
same.
about the same. Because there were a couple of ladies that were not at Grand Rapids that were at Tennessee. So
That's true. Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, I think more and more women are joining NACFM. So it's becoming a little bit more diverse in that way. And just have
Yes.
to, what can we do to get women to come to conference, I guess.
We're working on that.
So, Kara, can I throw it out there? What would it take to get you there?
Well, I had at my previous church, I had gotten approval to go. I think it was going to be Chicago.
And you didn't come?
Well,
Disappointed.
was that 2020 or
Well,
20?
Well, we ended up
both,
doing it in
but-
21. Yeah.
21.
I
I
feel like
think it was 21.
We got canceled
21.
in 20.
So I honestly don't remember now why I ended up not going. But now I'm at a different church and kind of the same kind of thing some of you others have said. I've been here almost 2 years. So I'm like almost comfortable enough to ask for them to lay out the cash for me to be able to go. But I just felt like my last church was where I attended, so I knew a lot of people and I had a lot more just general support. So it's just a little bit different here, but we're getting there.
My executive pastor this year asked me to consider why we would go every year, or even taking the team that I take is that something that we want to do every year? And it's a valid challenge for him to ask me. And my response back was, the first question was, the creative team goes on a retreat or they go to a conference every year. And he goes, well, yes, but, and I said, but so tell me, what do you think they're getting? What's the benefit of them going to something every year? But for some reason, you don't know, you're asking why the facilities team couldn't go to something every year. What are they getting? And he started, listing off the things, and I went, so same thing. So it's, and my XP is actually, he's great. And he understands that we're a ministry just as much as anybody else. So we should be fed into just in the same way. And honestly, it's significantly less expensive to send us to NACFM than it is to send the creative team, and as large as they are, to where they go to. So, yeah, it's sometimes it's a matter of that, asking those questions. At least that's what was helpful for me, is to kind of go, what's the value that you feel that another department would be getting out of it that you don't perceive that we would be getting out of it? So, and that helps trigger them to realize that, to remember that there's value in the facilities team as well. And there's value in feeding into them. So.
That was a great way to put that, Lara. Right, Elson, looks like you have something to say.
Is that right? But one thing regarding the conference, I think that this year the number of vendors was really phenomenal, and I think that particularly the spiritual aspect that was added this year, and it was sort of embellished, I think that added a lot to the conference. I think people enjoyed that. I know I did, but I hope that's something that we'll continue to do every year.
We just have to make sure we find a church that's got an organ.
Yeah. That was incredible. I can't wait to hear one of those true blue full pipe organs.
There you go. Yeah.
Danny Clark set up and ready for us when we get there for Elson.
Put in the request now.
There you go.
If he doesn't have one, we need to rent one.
We'll put it
Like
together.
organ rentals. Yeah.
There you go.
Does anyone have anything they'd love to see at next year's conference, topic-wise, breakouts, suggestions while we're here on the call? We're always looking for feedback and just, yeah, what you'd like to learn or see, anything. Or not see, good or bad. Lay it out.
I honestly was a little disappointed that they only had one tour, that Ken only had one time slot for the tour. So for those of the ones that wanted to go to a breakout, or me, I had to teach that at that time. I wasn't able to see his church. I think that would have been if you can do it 2 times, or give others a chance to go do that. I think that would be because I asked Ken if he was going to do it again, and he didn't seem to think that there was time to do it. But even though we finished early on Thursday, that probably would have been a good time to do another tour. Maybe he wasn't up for it, but that I think people miss out on seeing how other churches are handled, how they're maintained, and what they do in their in their in their storage closets and in their boiler rooms and in their I mean, that's the stuff that interests us. We love the rooms and we love the beauty of the architecture, but we want to see how they're handling the building, right? And I know we make a point of that here with our small groups, that when we visit other churches, a tour is a must. We go through and it gives them good feedback too when they're not sure how to handle something. So I would like to see more of those. Yeah.
Okay.
That's great
That's good
feedback.
enough, Frank. Thanks. I know in the past we'd had always done the tour, I think, with the welcome night. So this year we switched that to the breakout session. So it's
I
good.
think the time is good because it's better, but just have another, like you have 2 breakout sessions of the same thing, do 2 tours.
Right. And
Yeah.
we had kind of had that as a possibility, but I guess I don't know if it was just lack of knowing that people wanted another tour. Like I said, we had the possibility on deck to do another one Wednesday, but it didn't come to fruition. So
Yeah.
maybe we just need to plan for 2, like you said. And
Yeah. On the welcome night, I think it's hard because the families are there and they're not interested in that. They don't, as much as they say they care, they don't care.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we moved it off of welcome
Yeah.
night.
Yep.
It's late. Lots of people have been traveling that day. Families are there. It's
Yeah, they're
late. We have
tired.
an early
Yeah.
morning start, and some people aren't even there. There's some
Yeah.
people who don't make welcome night. So we wanted to make sure that we got a greater group, but that's great feedback about making sure we get it twice. So if it's at a breakout time, that it conflicts with something else, or
Yeah. No, I would have liked to see more of his church. He did a beautiful, the place is well taken care of from what I could see. And, kudos to Ken for 2 people, right?
Yep.
I don't know how he does it, 200-something thousand square feet, and there's only 2 of them. They're doing it all. I don't know how they do it, but
Yeah, Frank, I still remember your church tour.
yeah. Is that good or bad?
Well, you were very detailed, and that's one thing I appreciated about it. When we were walking through, you were explaining everything. So, like I said, I still remember yours.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I remember your staff being so nice and welcoming, and just all day. That was great. So
Yeah, they were my staff, and they don't even work for me. They're not my staff. They're the admin staff, and they just jumped in to help. I couldn't have got it done without them because they were incredible. Yeah. Thank you. I'll let them know that.
I mean, it's been a couple of years. We still remember your church.
Yeah.
So I did have one question. When you guys host events, do you guys charge for everything, or is it just like an all-inclusive, or do you not charge at all if you have a small Bible study coming in once a week, or if you have a limited group of, say, 50 and under? Do you charge them for the room? And break down what you charge them for to use your facility, or do you just allow them to have free reign coming in?
Yes. Really, because I say that it is all over the place. When I first came on, we were 40,000 square feet smaller, and I did have a pricing structure for specific venues, specific classrooms, how many class, whether they needed tech, any of that. And we would charge specific things $25 an hour for tech support, you know, $450 a day if they wanted to use the big venue, that kind of thing. We added more square footage, we've added more events, and we have become more partner centric with a lot of community nonprofits. And so we mitigate a lot of the expense ourselves. So we have community Bible study meets here, and we don't charge them a thing to use the facility at all. They use one of our larger venues, and they use a dozen classrooms, and we don't charge them a thing. Now they give us a donation at the end of the season. We haven't asked for anything, but we have some business partners in the community for whom we do have charges for event, you know, for the size of the venue, you know, depending on whether they use our full size auditorium or they use our theater venue. It's all over the board. It is, quite frankly, exhausting. I'd kind of like to go back to where I had a chart with this much for this room, and that's
Right.
it.
We only do things in-house here, so we don't do any community. So there's no charges, there's no fees to any of the ministry that we do. We do operate 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. So there's a lot of stuff going on during the school year. We do have a fee structure for weddings, and because there's a little bit more involved with music and audio media stuff. We don't charge for funerals, but funerals are only for members.
Yeah.
And weddings are for members only. It used to be longstanding attenders or kids of members, but they stopped. You have to be a member of the church in order to have a wedding in our church. But yeah, otherwise there's no fees to any of our Bible studies because that's our cost of doing ministry.
Right.
We do have 3 parachurch ministries that use our space. We do community Bible study and Bible study fellowship. And like Jeff said, they give us a year-end donation. But we don't ask for it. We don't require it. We don't, and we still support them like they're one of our ministries.
Absolutely.
And then we have a Christian basketball feeder program that feeds into the middle school, high school, where they're doing Bible study. They're taking kids from outside. I'm not sure how that structure has worked, but they're looking at that one right now because it may be turning into a for-profit, and that could mess up our non-for-profit status. So that's why we're real careful about that. The Illinois laws are really crazy. So we've got to be very particular about what we're doing. You're either a full-time community church or you're just solely in-house. Because if you let one, you got to let them all.
Right.
Yeah. So we have several churches in the area that do that. There's a couple guys in our group that do it, and they're fully community based. They own their buildings and they're mobile church. They have to set up for church every Saturday afternoon for Sunday morning and then tear it all down so the community can come in and use the facilities. It's not a model I would want to ever deal with.
We charge for events that are not ministry related and any organization that comes in. So we've had some level of charge for a long time, but it's been over the last couple of years that we've really dialed it in. Because the reality is that we realized that even parachurch and different organizations did not necessarily respect and follow if there was not some type of fee structure related. So also we are doing, I did a lot of research before we came up with our pricing structure to look and see what competitive type opportunities would be for organizations who are looking to rent something out in the world. So our rates are really only to cover air conditioning, our utilities, I should just say utilities, paper supplies for bathrooms, things of that nature. So depending on the size. So we're not trying to make money on it. It's not a income producing section for us. It's really just to offset our costs. And then we have the opportunity for, if it's a nonprofit, they have the opportunity for a 50% discount on the space rental, not on the labor. They absolutely have to pay for labor. Our labor, the church's labor is only for church. Like, we are budgeted for church related activities. So any labor for anything that is not church related is charged above and beyond. We actually have to, in Florida and our labor laws, we had to figure out exactly what it would look like, because if it's a full-time person doing their job, they've got to be on the hours. We had to figure out the rate that we would pay for that. So facilities, audio visual, security, all of those things, anything labor related, they have to pay. That's just what it is, because we don't have labor for anything outside of what we do for the church. So, and then there are some organizations, staff. We even charge staff, because we want staff to realize the value of using the space. It's not a free space. Again, staff took advantage of the opportunity to use it, and we're not particularly careful. And we don't charge for the tables and chairs and things like that. So even at that, you go to a venue that you rent, most places these days charge for the tables and chairs. So we just set a rate for the space, and that includes the potential of tables and chairs. But our staff gets if you're a full-time staff member, you get a 75% discount on that. So.
Lara, Frank, and Jeff, thank you that was a last minute question. Somebody just texted me through the side here. I hope that answered your question. And does anybody else have anything else before we close out in prayer for today? Lara, would you like to pray us out, please?
I sure will. Dear Heavenly Father God, we come to you today thankful for the opportunity to serve you, thankful for the opportunity to impact this world with the message that you have, the message of life, the message of peace, the message of forgiveness, God. We just are so grateful for the role that we get to take that every day, and let us keep that first and foremost in our minds as we go about what can sometimes feel long and hard. I pray that you would just be with each and every person who is on this call, and the remainder of our members, Lord, that you would just keep them safe, that you would give them an opportunity for rest, for Sabbath, that you would just renew them in a way that they did not know was possible. God, just be with them. Thank you for each and every one of them. Thank you for the work that they do for the kingdom. Be with us as we move into the remainder of our day and our week. And keep us until we come back together again. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Hey, thank you everybody for joining in.
God bless everybody.
Same to you. Bye.
Bye.
Peace, love, and Fruit Loops, y'all.
Fruit Loops.
Lucky Charms.
You guys come up with this.